Hello guys, I'm remaking this video again about how to make a pleated skirt since I forgot to record the audio on the other one. So now with pleated skirts it's pretty much the same um, what you call it, technique for making like any skirt, except like this is gonna have like some creases and stuff in it, indentations and whatnot. So let's say you want to start from the top. Right, so I'm starting off with like a simple plane, right? And I'm not gonna shrink wrap this. We're just gonna go into edit mode and we're gonna start moving stuff and extruding and making the base for it. Although I am going to use a mirror modifier because I don't want to build the same thing 2 times. And we're gonna turn clipping on so these stop at the center when they meet. And from here we're gonna select edges and do Ctrl B and bevel just so we can get close to the body and stuff. I'm still not used to Blender 3 point stuff yet, so I'm just used to pressing A to deselect a lot of stuff from the old Blender. So we're just manually moving these and arranging them to the body. And here we're gonna bevel again, and here again, and here again. And then we can just move this in, and this, and this. It doesn't really matter, like got like gaps and stuff um, on the bottom or on the top, or it's like mismatching. Um, because we're gonna select the top, we're gonna do S, Z, numpad 0, and that's just gonna align everything. I'm just gonna add a bit more because I'm gonna need a lot of geometry for the plated part of this. Okay, now let's try and make these somewhat even. We're probably done and used and added like all my geometry from the start, but oh well. And I'm just gonna bevel this because I just want one and I don't want to move two of them at the same time. We're gonna do scale numpad 0 again, scale numpad 0. If you're wondering why when I press stuff I have like pie menus, I'm used to pie menus, and you can turn on pie menus by going to preferences, add-ons, and typing pie. And you should see that's the only one that I have, but this is what it's called. Interface 3D view pie menus. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty useful in my opinion. It's way better than having the slide down. All right, so this is our base. We're gonna create some thickness here. We can either like extrude and then just scale it. But if you have a mirror modifier, you might want to apply that. So let me just show you. So if we apply the mirror modifier, then we zoom back in. We have all of our extrusion selected, and then we can just scale it in. Right. Or you can, let me go back. You can add a solidify with only rim. Don't forget to apply your stuff. I'm not sure what's happening here or what it is going down instead of going towards the body. Is this like some Blender 3 point something weird stuff that's happening? Oh, it's because I have the extruded edges here, that's why. Okay. Okay, and see, as I removed that top layer there, it's working as intended. So if we select all and we press M to merge by distance, it removed like 21 of these, and we got rid of a bunch of them. So let's reduce the thickness of this by, put it like 0.2. So it has some thickness to it, and it's not like paper. Right, so we got our base to go from, and we can like add one of these so we can get rid of some of that weird shadowing that's happening there, and then one more for rigging purposes later on. Right, for this next part you might want to apply the mirror, because you're gonna have to do extrusion once, so you have a base, and then do another extrusion that you pull down. So the first extrusion you don't move, and then you do another one from that, which you do move. So we're just gonna make this but yay big. Mainly want it to land on the front here, and once we're done pulling this out, we can go back to wireframe and we can select everything and delete one side. I think it was delete face, no, not dissolve, delete faces. There we go. And then we're gonna add our mirror modifier back, and we're gonna move it above the solidify, because otherwise we're gonna have some funky shit happening, such as that, which is gonna create the face inside of here, because the mirror is not telling the solidify that, hey, you can't do that. But we're gonna turn on proportional editing by pressing O on the key, making sure we have smooth on, and then we are going to select, if I could actually see what I selected. Okay, there we go. And we're going to start moving this so the edges are nice, have a nice distance from the leg. Keep in mind that like usually the people for my channel are people who play Second Life, and those are the type, that's the main audience that I have, and this game is restricted, has a few restrictions on it which require you to like leave a bit of a gap pretty much everywhere in order for stuff not to clip at the edges. And a lot of people in game don't understand that like there's certain things that you should always alpha layer stuff, and you should try to make mesh clothing work with the model, the body model being underneath. So there's a lot of people that do not understand that in this game, and you generally want to leave a pretty big gap here where the edges meet, so you have room for the wiggling. Does this cause issues in game? Yeah, it does. It certainly for sure does. But that's how the game runs, and we're not here to invent new things. We're here to learn how to make a skirt. Yeah, so we're gonna move these, select them, and move them one by one. Well, in this case, we're moving a bunch of them with proportional editing. Right, so I forgot to check mark clipping, and this happened. So I'm going to turn off proportional editing, and I'm going to press G, X, and then just move it, making sure it's clipping. It's clipped on both sides, so there's no gaps in or anything like that. Right, the next step is going to be to make sure that these lines are pretty straight from top to down, because otherwise we're gonna end up with like some funky looking blades or plates. I don't know if I pronounced that right or not. You tell me in the comment section below if I did or not. So we're just straightening these. We're gonna press Ctrl SX, and then we're gonna rotate on Z axis, and that should straighten them out But again, we don't want to go all the way up, I don't know what word I just said there, but it was a word. This one looks good. This one not so much. Um, okay, so these are gonna come like this, regardless. You can't really make these very straight because otherwise you're gonna end up with like some weird stuff happening, and you gotta always adjust the geometry ahead and then adjust a bit of the geometry behind, from where you are adjusting. I know I'm probably making this way more complicated than it needs to be, but I just like proper geometry. Okay, looks okay-ish for now. Okay, so how do we do the plating? So we're going to select, we're not going to select the center, we're going to select one off the center, and from there we're going to keep on going each one with the selection of faces. And over here we have these too small because I added too much geometry. And we are going to add our mirror modifier for extruding purposes, and we're going to extrude these out. And then after you press extrude, then we're going to press S to scale them so they come out straight out like that. Okay, and from here we can go ahead, and if you want to make it like mirrored extrusion, you can, let me just dissolve edge. And this one's really big compared to the rest of them, which is annoying. Yeah, I should have definitely done my geometry from the start. Wireframe. Okay, I'm just making sure nothing is selected on that other side. That should be good. Okay, so we're gonna mirror it since I don't want to deal with the other side as well. Again, you cannot mirror or mirror it. If you mirror it, you're gonna get both sides to turn in the same direction, and eventually in the middle they're gonna be turning in the same direction. If you don't mirror it, you're gonna have to do all of them, and you're gonna have like you're gonna have all of them go in the same direction instead of going mirrored direction. Okay, and we're going to mirror this. Move the mirror above. Okay, and we are going to get rid of all of these at the bottom because there's no point in having them there. And we're gonna delete face on them. Right, and you're probably like, oh, what? Why didn't I think of that? That looks simple. Well, we're not done yet because this doesn't look like plated, right? This looks a bit weird, if anything. And we're going to dissolve the edges. Let me delete, dissolve edges. Like I said, I'm not used to this to the new Blender yet, so I'm just still adjusting to it. And then we go in and we move these in one by one. And we can see here we have a bit of an issue with this not quite being the same as the rest here. You're gonna have to do like these small adjustments. Good thing we have simple geometry, and that is possible. Okay. Then we're gonna select these. Actually, we can just select the whole thing and then just scale this. We can SZ numpad 0. Scale it, and then we're gonna get rid of that. And now we have a wavy skirt, right? So let's go in and where is it? Auto smoothing, right? And now we have a bunch of cubes. So we're gonna take the side of each of these. This is the last one. And dissolve edges. right? And technically you would call this plated. But let's go ahead and be more ambitious than this, and we're going to take from here where the fall, where it's like technically straight, and we're just going to move this in a bit. We're gonna look from the front, and we're just going to rotate it a bit and then just move it. We're gonna do the same for the rest of them. Notice how I'm padding my vision so it's aligned with the front, that's aligned with this, with these two edges here, so I can get a proper rotation on this. And I'm sorry if this video is gonna be like long and boring, but I'd rather it be long and boring and you guys understanding what I'm trying to teach you than me just hop, free frames and bum bum, where this is how you do it. And then you're like, where's that step, right? So if you were not to mirror this, you would have to do this on the other side as well. But for video purposes, I'm just going to mirror this. And because the main idea is to teach you guys the technique, and then from there you can do your stuff however you want. So we are just rotating this and moving it and blah, 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 right? And now we have issues up here, which we are going to address. Slowly, and we're going to adjust them. You guys are probably like, oh, but I could have used Marvelous Designer and got it done in like half the time. Yeah, but I don't. I prefer using Blender. Marvelous Designer for me isn't very much fun, personally. And here, and boom, we have our plated skirt that goes in the same direction. Let's hide this and go into solid so you guys can see it better. See, we have some nice plating there and everything looks pretty okay. We have it meeting in the middle here. We also have our solidify here. If we take off only rim, you might have some issues around these areas, depending on the size of your thingy, if you solidify, right? So keep that in mind if you have issues with like stuff not looking right and whatnot. Just look for the solidify modifier to change it, right? And the way you would normally unwrap this is you want to go for one of these creases that aren't going to be very visible. And then before that, we're gonna remove any duplicates, meaning the ones that we had here at the start for extruding purposes. And now we're going to hold down Control and we're gonna go on this line where they meet, and we're going to mark them as seams. And then the second seam is gonna be technically in the middle and where one of the creases has a dip. So we're gonna mark that one as a seam, and we are also going to adjust this, and we're going to mark in the back, since the back is most of the time not visible, since there's like hair or like something around this area. And or we can just add a zipper or something on the seam here so it's not visible at all. And if we're gonna add the zipper, you can add the seam anywhere you want, on the side, on the front, on a bit on the side, on the front, and whatnot. You get the idea. So let's right click here, vertical split, and go into UV mapping, UV editor, and we're going to apply our mirror modifier for demonstration purposes. We're going to select all of it, and then we're going to press U and then unwrap. And there is our unwrap mesh, right? But let's use the, oh wait, I don't have it installed. One moment, I'm gonna pause and I'll be back in a moment. All right, and I'm back. You guys might want to get this thing called Text Tools. This is for 2.79 and Blender 2.8 plus, 3 point plus, whatnot. It's really cool. I'm going to show you why in a moment. It does stuff. It's really, really helpful when it comes to UV mapping. Let's install. We're going to go here, here, and there. We're going to enable it and save. We see it here, right? Over here, if we go into the layout and we do rectify on this, boom, straighten geometry. Hell yeah. And then we can crop and then just have this be its own thing, because most of the time you're going to want to make this like its own texture or whatnot, but and have it straight. So I just took a decision to have this like really long like this, right? And then we're going to do UV maps like they do on Marvelous Designer, since I know a lot of you love Marvelous Designer. We're going to take this top area here and we're going to do SY0, and then we're going to move it up a bit. And then we're going to take the bottom area and do the same SY0 and SY0. Then we're going to take the edges and do SX0, and we're going to move it to the furthest one. And then do the same here, X0, and then move it to the furthest one. And then we're going to take the middle here, and we are going to press S and scale them to the sides. And we're going to do the same on here. Sadly, this doesn't work to select as well. If you're wondering how I did that without saying anything, I have a Razer Naga mouse, which has like 12 buttons on the side, and I've macroed all of them to do individual things for Blender. Right, and we're going to keep them the same aspect ratio. And we are just adjusting the base here. Okay, so we know that this one should match the top one. And you're probably wondering why this looks like a piece of shit at the moment. Well, you're just going to see in a moment how we are going to aspect ratio correct this. But for the moment, we are just getting things done and placed, because we need to place the edges and have them fitting. I'm going to move this down and scale it. We're going to do the same here. Move it down and scale it. I'm going to turn that off for the moment because I don't need it. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to do arrangement, and the same here and here and here. And you can see that here I selected a bit more, so we're just going to deselect what we don't need. Okay, and that looks pretty okayish. And then we are going to go into right. So my Google started talking to me randomly, and it looks like I don't even have Avastar installed on this. We are going to need Avastar for this part, technically. Practically, we can just go ahead and like select the edges. And then, where is it? Tools, no. There's a thing called pen. Unwrap, rectangulate, iron, pick images, colors. I don't know where that thing is. And this new blender region, grab, relax. Mark seams, no. Image UVs, stitch. Oh, here it is. So you just press P apparently to pin these down. Oh, hold on. We don't have these stretched out. So we're going to stretch them out a bit. And now we're gonna pin them and press P. And then we do another unwrap. And that fixes our aspect ratio. But notice how this one like moved away because I didn't pin it down. And we do another unwrap on this. And let's add an image to it. Open Blender and have this for testing purposes. And I'm not sure. Do I have to do it through nodes? Because I'm not sure. Split horizontally. Shade editor. Go to material. New material. Image texture. Open Blender cube test, and we're going to connect this to base color, and we have our mesh. And as you can see, we have a bit of a few issues happening. This is why I recommend having Avastar, because unwrapping it like this is nice and all, but like Avastar does like something different. But if we select this and this and we press Ctrl V, it's gonna try to correct the aspect ratio, but chances are the issue is from here and these not aligning properly. So you might have to align them on your own. I'm already seeing the issue here is that like this here, these should align with this one over here. So scale these down, right? Because this one is going from the top. So if I select this and I hide it and I control inverse selection, yeah, so this one is not the top that we have here. This one is like the secondary. So if we move these down, actually we can just do let me disconnect these and take off this so I can actually see. And we're going to go ahead and select this and align it. We're going to do the same for the rest of them and align them. Right, and we can see that this one should be here. And this one should be here. And let's go ahead and do the same on top here. Press B to select everything faster. And let's unwrap this again and see how it looks. Base color. We're still getting issues, a lot of them. And if we try to let it autocorrect, it's autocorrecting, but not as well as it should. So let's try aligning the horizontal ones as well. So noticing that I'm leaving this one alone, and I'm not touching it because that's gonna get auto corrected on its own. And we are just adjusting the inner one. And you know it's the inner one because it's not bending as much to the side. Unwrap it again, and we can see that like the issues are getting smaller and smaller. It's more of a tweaking issue than anything. Right, so, and let's bring back text tools, and we're going to hit crop, and this is gonna scale everything down so it matches inside of the texture map. We have a nice pleated skirt. Right, or you can just wait, how do you unpin? UV Alt P, okay. So you can, or you can just unpin it and just leave it like that. You know, it depends on what you're planning on doing with it and what kinds of materials and textures you're planning on adding to it. If you're just gonna make it like plain colors, like completely white with like some shades and whatnot, you're better off leaving it like that, or just some creases or whatnot. You're better off leaving it like that, right? So I hope you guys like this video. If you enjoyed this video, remember to like it, comment below what you liked about it, comment below what you think, what are types of clothes you would like to see me do, and explain how they're done. Don't forget to share it with people that are trying to learn how to do clothing for Second Life or clothing in general. And this is Alexei Croft signing off.